As-salaamalaikum dosto! Welcome to Desified dish! My name is Reiko. So with the holy month of Ramadan coming to a close, I just wanted to say eidmubarak! If you are celebrating, I wish you and your families love, laughter and happiness. So on this joyous occasion, I wanted to do something special and something that's been on my list of things to make for a really long time. I speak of haleem. Essentially a stew of meat, wheat and lentils, this dish originated in the 10th century in Baghdad where it was known as harees, but it has now travelled around the subcontinent and the Middle East and it's under many different names. The version that we're going to be making today is popular in the South Indian city of Hyderabad. And to make things just a little bit more special, I'm also going to be cooking with goat for the first time. So, cello, let's cue the music and make some haleem. First things first, better put on my apron. I don't want to get this Salwar Kameez dirty. Speaking of Salwar Kameez, I hope you like it. Since it's in the frame, I'll remind you, if you are interested in purchasing that Chai is Life print, you can find it on my Etsy store. I'll leave a link in the description. So first up, we need to soak our cracked wheat and lentils in water. First, the cracked wheat. I have 1 cup here, which I'm going to put in this large bowl. Then add plenty of water to make sure that they're well covered, probably about 1.5 to 2 cups worth. Give it a bit of a mix and cover it over with a plate and let it sit for at least 30 minutes. Now onto the dal. In this bowl I have equal amounts of masoor, chana and urid, which accounts for about 2 tablespoons of each, adding up to half a cup. I'm going to add these into a medium bowl and, like the cracked wheat, cover it with water. Also likewise with the cracked wheat, we're going to cover this with a plate and leave it to soak for at least 30 minutes. And now onto the onions. Yeah, that's right, we're doing onions again. But hey, they're brown this time at least. So my instructions here are going to be a little bit different to the visuals. One of the prices of making something for the first time is you don't always know exactly how well it's going to turn out. And in this case, with the onions, definitely something needed to change. So rather than 3 onions, I would do 2 brown onions. Start by cutting off the ends and removing the skin. Now we want to slice the onions really finely, so I'm going to do this with the help of my mandolin slicer. These things are really great whenever you want to finely slice something. They're especially great when you want to cut a lot of things at a time. This made very quick work of 2 large onions. And now over to the hot plates, let's get out my trusty saute pan. Once again I'll be deviating a bit from the visuals here. Let's add 1/4 cup of oil to the pan. Switch on the heat to medium and let it get hot. So the original recipe here asked you to basically shallow fry the onions, but in hindsight I think it would be much better just to saute them all together, and you don't need to worry about trying to get them crispy because they're going to go soft when we slow cook them anyway. I found the process of frying the onions incredibly messy, and to be honest, I don't think the result was worth it. So, sauteing the onions is the way to go. So I just add all the onions into the pan in one go and use a spoon to stir them around to get them evenly cooked. Just browned like this is all you need. Next we'll prepare the haleem masala. You can use garam masala instead, but I wanted to get a more authentic flavour. To a spice grinder, add the following: 8 green cardamom pods, 2 black cardamom pods, 8 cloves, 1/4 teaspoon of black peppercorns, 1/4 pod of nutmeg, 1 teaspoon of shahi jeera, also known as caraway seeds, 8 centimeters of cinnamon stick, and lastly 2 tablespoons of dried rose petals. Now pop on the lid and let's grind it into a fine powder. On a side note, coffee grinders work really well as spice grinders. Don't ask me how I know. This recipe made 2 tablespoons of haleem masala. We'll only need 1 of this for the recipe and the other one can go in a jar for next time. Now let's prepare the remaining ingredients. So I've got 2 green chilies here. I'm just going to start by removing the ends, cutting them in half, and then bunching them up to cut them into slices. Feel free to reduce the amount of chilies here if you can't take the spice. Lastly, I'm just going to bunch them up and then finely dice them. Now onto the garlic. I've got 4 cloves here, which I'm just going to start by removing the ends. And then using this little tube of silicone, I'm going to roll it to remove the skins. I'm still quite amazed by how well this actually works. Now to my chunk of ginger here, I'm just going to use a peeler to remove the skin. Now with my grinding plate, I'm going to grind it into a fine paste. Now taking my garlic press, I'll add in those naked garlic cloves and crush the life out of them. That's the prep work done, so let's move on to the cooking. For the next part of this process, I'll use my ever common tool, this heirloom burnt wooden spoon. Back to my saute pan, and do make sure that you clean it well after the onions. I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of oil and set the heat to medium. Once the oil is hot, go ahead and add in the goat chunks. This is about 1 kilo of in-bone goat. Then using my spoon, I'm going to move it around to brown all of the meat. Alright, that's looking good. Now in goes the garlic ginger. Give it all a real good mix and saute the ginger garlic for about 30 seconds. Now let's spice things up by adding 1 teaspoon of red chili powder, 1 teaspoon of turmeric, 1 teaspoon of black pepper, 1 teaspoon of ground coriander, half a teaspoon of ground cumin, and 1.5 teaspoons of salt. Also add in 3 teaspoons of the HALEEM MASALA. Now in goes the diced chilies. Lastly, we'll add in our sauteed onions. Finally, we're ready to give everything a real good mix. Make sure you do this while we want to get every piece of that goat nicely coated with the spices. Now reduce the heat to low and let's add in our 1 cup of whisked yogurt. As always, mix thoroughly until well combined. This now concludes the fast part of the cooking. In preparation for our next step, I'm going to need some boiling water, so let's pop the kettle on. Now, if I can just slow things down a little bit. Get it? Because it's a slow cooker. The remaining process for cooking the meat will be done in the slow cooker to enhance its flavor. So let's do just that. I'm going to carefully transfer from my saute pan into the slow cooker. Now we need to add 2 cups of water. You can just use tap water for this, but I like to use boiling so it gets the whole process going a lot faster since the slow cooker won't have to boil the water. And with that, let's switch on the power of our slow cooker to high. So pop on the lid, and we're going to leave this to bubble away to itself for at least 2 hours. I'll check on you later, little one. So while our meat is cooking away to itself, we need to prepare the grains for the haleem. So back into my saute pan, thoroughly cleaned for another time, I'm going to add in my soaked cracked wheat. Note that I've also drained all the water here. Now our soaked lentils, once again the water has been drained. And 1/4 cup of pearled barley. Now I'll pour in 4 cups of boiling water. You know why I used boiling water this time, right? Set the heat to medium and give everything a good stir. Once it's been brought to a boil, turn down the heat to low and pop on a lid. We'll need to cook the lentils for 1 hour or until soft and mushy. Do check on it occasionally and add more water as necessary. Alright, it's been 1 hour, so let's go ahead and check on our lentils. And as you can see, they are beautifully mushy. So let's bring the pan over to the bench. Now add the cooked lentils into a processor or a blender. Just make sure that it's high powered because I did find that mine really struggled with this. Pop on the lid and blend it until you get a smooth paste. Like me, you'll probably have to do it in multiple runs if you're using a smaller blender. It should end up looking something like this. Time to check back in on the slow cooker, which I've been doing periodically. At this point it's now been 4 hours. Let's see if it's ready to shred. So I took a decent sized chunk out and then using the power of the forks, we're going to see if it's shredding, and that's looking pretty amazing. So now that it's cooked, I'm going to remove all the pieces of meat from the gravy using a pair of tongs. Now to get my hands dirty. Using my fingers, I'm going to carefully pick through all of the pieces of meat and remove all the bones onto a separate plate. Do this carefully, as goat is notorious for having tiny little bones that you might miss on the first pass. Then using my pair of forks once more, I'm going to go ahead and tear the meat apart. And there we are, shredded goat. Put that shredded goat back where it came from, into the gravy. As always, give it a real good mix. Now we'll introduce our pureed lentils to the pot. We're not quite there yet, still a few more things to add to the pot. So I'm going to grab about 2 tablespoons worth of coriander leaves and about 1 tablespoon worth of fresh mint leaves. Bunch these up and then we'll roughly chop them. Then into the pot with the leaves too. Alright, now we can finally mix it. It was so thick it was making the entire pot move around, but eventually I got there. Now we want to pop the lid on and leave it for another 30 minutes. Alright, it's been 30 minutes, so let's go ahead and check on the haleem, and it's looking good. How about a closer look? It's been a long process, but we're almost there. The last step we need to do is add that other teaspoon of haleem masala. Mix it in well, and we want to cook this for another 10 minutes, then it'll be done. The haleem is ready, and it's time to serve. I'm pretty hungry, so I will give myself a generous helping, but keep in mind that this will be really filling. I am really loving the consistency of this haleem. Now haleem isn't complete without toppings, so let's go ahead and add those now. So I'm going to start with a sprinkling of ghee. Feel free to choose whatever toppings you like. Now a good squeeze of lemon juice. A touch of fresh coriander leaves, a couple of roasted cashews, a generous pinch of fried shallots, and lastly a few slices of green chili, cause you know I like it spicy. Kana vakte! Alright, we're back and the cooking is done, so I present to you haleem. And it smells amazing. With all of that cooking time and all of these little accoutrements on the top, it looks really good. I can mainly smell the fried onions. They actually have a really strong smell, but oh, I can't wait to taste it. All those flavors, cooking for so long, I imagine it's going to be amazing. But let's actually find out. Let's give it a try, shall we? So, I also made sheermal to go with this, and there will be a recipe coming up for that soon. So, I'm just going to break off a bit and let's try it. Oh, and it's so beautifully thick. All right, here we go. Oh, that is incredible. There is so much complexity in this flavor. All of those different things all working together. I know it doesn't look like much, but hey, it's got it where it counts, the taste. This is one I will definitely be making again. So once again, I'd just like to wish you all eidmubarak. Have a lovely time with your friends and family, and I hope the holy month has been everything that you wanted it to be. So if you enjoyed this video, give it a like, and if you want to catch what dish I get up to next time, please subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, dosto, and fi milenge. I'll catch you in the next one.